But let's move on to something that's slightly less scary and something that seems counterintuitive but isn't. This is an article from calistech.com, and it's entitled, What Motivates Employees? Clearly, it isn't the internal competition. So, Victor, this article suggests that less than 20% of sales representatives improve their performance under competitive conditions, according to data from Enerjoy. Does this surprise you? Are we moving away from this boiler room environment, the stereotype of B2B sales?
First of all, look at the way the data is presented. Less than 20% of sales reps representatives improve their performance under competitive conditions. So what about the other 80? Does it work for them?
Mm-hmm.
And I got to be honest. I can't listen to a company that has a name, Enerjoy. I refuse to accept that name, Enerjoy. I guess energy, joyful energy. I don't know. They seem a little optimistic. And by the way, if you're from Enerjoy, we'd love to hear how you came up with the name Enerjoy.
I'm going to slag you off to your face, and then I want you to tell me how I was right to slag you off. That's what you just did right there.
Go ahead, Will. Let's finish this one.
So, and you're dead right. So it's the third point here that I thought was interesting, but you're dead right. Clearly, that this is skewed, the way that they presented this data. Yeah. Moving on from that, 35% of salespeople improved their performance through cooperation, not competition. Now, when you get into more than a third of individuals, maybe we're talking now, there's an opportunity to perhaps split workforces up or change and not always have it so competitive, maybe establish some collaborative environments at some points during the kind of the sales year or how the things are structured. But it was this third point that I thought was most interesting. 70% of salespeople improve their performance through group challenges and achieve peak performance when operating in small groups of 2 or 3 people. Now, I know it's my experience in the last couple of medical device companies I worked in that I was how to describe it, like the senior salesperson, then I had a logistics person, I had a trainee underneath me, and then product manager, kind of like the same level as me, that could jump in and do meetings if I couldn't get there and things like that. I found that environment was better for me. That collaborative environment where, like, don't get me wrong, I got the commission on the sale when it came in, but being able to delegate, being able to share responsibilities, and being able to get other people's thoughts and feedback, and even I'd send in the logistics guy, I'd send him into these hospitals and these accounts, and people would talk to him differently because he wasn't the one doing the deal, and then he would report intel back as well. So I found that I performed better in this environment of 2 or 3 people in a group than just one lone salesperson. Victor, do you think that perhaps sales could change and become more collaborative, selling in small teams, or do we need that lone salesperson because that lone salesperson is kind of getting the commission, so they've got the real incentive?
No, I actually agree with the last point here. As far as being more collaborative, it's just the way the nature of the business has changed. The lone wolf is dying. The maverick is almost dead. I think it's almost impossible, especially in a B2B scenario, to really be that one person doing everything. So I think if you have a solid team, and even when I was coming up as a salesperson, I had people who always supported me. I had a customer service person, and if I needed a tech person on the side, I had one as well. So it's always been that way. So I love this. I love the group challenges, and especially if everybody gets, this is the part I like to emphasize, as long as everybody's getting a little piece of the action. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? In other words, there's some type of gain sharing in terms of commission and stuff like that, that everybody's pulling in the same direction. Everybody's adding. I think this is a great way to look at selling today.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Again, it's my experience. I don't know if people who are not a closing salesperson who are managing an account needs commission, but on a sale, but perhaps they can be incentivized in other ways more appropriate to the role that they're in to create that kind of environment where everyone wins, right? That's what we're aiming for.
I got to give you a real, because this will shock a lot of people. I'm about to shock a lot of people. You ready? I'm about to give some insight. I'm about to pull back the curtain on something most people don't even know.
Come on.
So, Grant Cardone, would you say that guy is the lone wolf of the lone wolves, right? Mm-hmm. The maverick of the mavericks. I was in his bullpen. We did a training together about, 2 years ago. And I got a chance to sit in his bullpen. His bullpen is where his people are at selling the products, right? The training products. And first of all, the guy trains his people like daily. This is like a machine. Yeah. So what you see is what you get. It's a machine every day. But here's what's interesting. when I was in the bullpen, I got a chance to sit next to one of the sales guys who let me sit next to him and just kind of hear his chat. What Grant implemented and his right arm, Jared Glant, what he implemented was interesting. There's a person, I'll call it the supervisor, floating, right? And if that person needs to help with the call, it's like you signal the other person to jump in on the call. So that's a collaborative sell. So even though sometimes it seems like, no, you just do it yourself, close the deal, ABC. In that scenario, they, as you say, they change faces, they switch voices, so to speak, to actually close deals. That's collaborative selling, even at that level.
For sure. I remember it must be one of his biggest videos, one of Grant's biggest YouTube videos. But one of the first videos I ever saw of Grant Cardone was him jumping into a sales call in the midst of it. And I think Jared was actually in the video. I think Jared looks about 3 in the video. He looks about 14 years old. So it must have been when he first joined the company.
We'll have to send this to Jared.
Yeah.
Hey, he looked like about 3 in that video. Yeah, little baby. Yeah.
But Grant jumped in and obviously he looked like the superstar because the deal closed. Now, if the deal hadn't have closed, would he have uploaded it to YouTube? Who knows? Maybe, because there's still learning points there. But the fact that you've got a higher authority in the conversation, the fact that you can just change the pace as well. Sometimes you're on a sales call, you're both trying to maneuver, you're both in a good place, you're both trying to get the deal done, but you're not necessarily butting heads, but there's just some friction, something's not going. Just a change of pace, a change of individual can make a massive difference. So that's really smart if they've got perhaps a more senior person like floating around who can just give advice or jump in or ask questions or kind of help out the salespeople, especially if they're hitting that little bit of a wall that we've all felt, right?
Yeah. I did a deal many years ago. I remember I traveled with the sales guy, right? At that point, I was the VP of sales. He was just an account manager. And we met with the CEO
Hold on
of
a
the company
second.
and their
Hold on a
engineers,
second, Victor.
right?
Hold on a second.
And
You just said just an account manager. Now, you just offended 3/4 of the audience here, myself included. I was the VP of sales. He was just an account manager. How demeaning to our audience, Victor. How you just like belittled, like literally probably like 3/4 of the tens of thousands of people that are going to hear this. I was the VP of sales. He was just an account manager. Come on, man.
Okay. By the way, my apologies to all account executives out there. Here's what I meant. Because apparently we live in this cancel culture and I don't want to be canceled on This Week in Sales. Here's what I meant. Is that he had only been with the company for a year. That's what I really meant. I should say he was a young account manager. I think that should have been more appropriate, so I apologize for that. That would have been more appropriate. Thank you for calling me out, Will. Thank you.
I'm only joking with you.
What was interesting, though, that the young account manager, like, I don't know, just struck a chord with the CEO. And I couldn't find rhythm with the CEO, but I love talking to the engineers.
Mm-hmm.
And so we actually agreed. I said, well, look, I'll just talk to the engineers on the side, and then you can follow up with the CEO. I didn't have a problem with that. And this only account manager was the person driving the sale. I was just watching as a spectator. And I just thought that was interesting how you match personalities and then you go with that collaborative selling. This is why I'm with you on the whole idea of that.
Love it. That makes total sense. I've been in those experiences before as well. The boss comes in, perhaps the customer thinks that the boss... I've been in literal situations before where I've spent loads of time with a surgeon. He's using the product service. He loves it. He wants to expand I'm just thinking of Bradford Hospital here. I did loads of business with them just around the corner from me. And my boss would come in and immediately the surgeon would be like, why is he here? What are you trying to pull? Why is the sales manager involved? Just come in and just do what you're doing. You're doing fine. So it's both there's kind of like multiple elements to all of this. And I guess if you don't have the option, it's a problem. But if you've got the option and you can have a collaborative sale, it's going to be better for both you and the customer, right?
And by the way, you bring up a good point. We'll get on to the next point. And that is sometimes when you bring somebody in at higher level, people get suspicious. Like, why do you have to bring that person in? Why did you need the closure to come in? So it's a good point.